Good morning. We'll be starting now understanding economic development of class 10th. Okay. And let us explore in this what are the topics which are mentioned here. Okay. So the topics mentioned here are these are respect to the development sectors of the Indian economy, money and credit, globalization and the Indian economy, consumer rights. Okay. So these are the topics which are associated in this 10th class NCRT, consumer rights, etc. So let us take this development. This will be a very general topic, development and all. Most of them you would have come across of this topic. Aspirations or desires, this has to be met. What he's trying to convey here, I'll just brief you. There will be aspirations, there will be very much high desires for the people. What people want is the change. What people want is change. This change will come with the technology only, and the technology is will definitely bring a development. So this is not needed actually for exam also, but just will have to look. Without me they cannot develop in this system. I cannot develop. Okay, so technically is talking about technology, is talking about some different aspects. Okay, now let us take what is this aspect, the newer one. All right. Now look, let us try to imagine that development or progress is likely to mean to different person listed in the table. You want a car, the way our country is set up, all you can hope for is maybe to one day own the rickshaw you pull. So this is something like which we don't require for the exam purpose. Category of the persons, landless rural laborers. For landless rural laborers, more days of work is needed. Okay, local school is able to provide quality education for the children, so there is no social discrimination and they can too become leaders in the village. So these are like example is Manrega. We are supporting you with Manrega. You can choose Manrega here and make sure that you'll go for some development, better standard of living. That's it. We cannot say development. You have a standard of living where you're not into poverty. So a girl from a rich urban life comparing to the people from the poor. This is all you don't need to look at also from NCRTs. Don't expect any single question to be asked from here. So two things are quite clear. One, different persons can have different development goals, and the two may be development for the one, for the not for development for the others. Those people don't want to develop. So leave it this one. Income and other goals. What is income and other goals? Let us see if you could get anything out of here. If you go over table 1.1 again, you will notice one common thing. What people desire are regular work, better wages, and decent price for their crops or other product that they produce. Okay, so in other words, they want more income. I mean, like I will teach you in 12th class NCRT the topic called as circular flow of income. Circular flow of income, which has three important agents. One is the government, okay, which is the one important agent. Second one are the banks, okay. Third one is the market. So there are three important agents which are associated. All right. Now, besides seeking more income, one way or the other, people also seek things like equal treatment. Yes, they want equally treated, freedom, security, and respect of others. They, I mean, like there's also something called a discrimination which still exists in our country that needs to be curtailed. All these are important goals. Money or material things that one can buy with it is one factor on which our life depends. But the quality of our life also depends on non-material things mentioned. So materialistic thing means something you're doing for the benefits here. Non-materialistic thing means nothing for the benefits, but you're contributing some other way. For example, here these people are associated. So this is something like non-materialistic things. No one is getting monetary benefits here. There is no money involved. There is no monetary benefits. But the non-monetary means what? Non-materialistic means what? Something you're not getting a direct benefits. That means indirect benefits, or you're here for the social cause. For example, what is social cause? Environmental cause, girl child education, means social logical issues. For such purpose, you are associated in this area. So consider another example. If you get a job in a far off place, before accepting it, would try to consider many factors apart from income, such as facilities for your family, working atmosphere, or opportunity to learn. In another case, a job may give you less pay but may offer regular employment and enhances your sense of security. This is he's talking about just a sense of security and all. No need to go through this. Okay, now come to the main topic now, national development. As we have seen above, okay, as we have seen in the above case, individual seeks different goals, then their notion of national development is also likely to be different. Most likely, you would find that different students in the class have given different answers to the above questions. In fact, you might find, so it is very important to keep in the mind. Development is killing me, not giving me a single uh, keyword to correct. At least I found good terminologies when I was discussing you the ninth class NCRT. So it's for 10th class students, it is not high in terms of concepts. How to compare different states or a country? Okay, now I could see something here. Okay, when we compare different things, they could have similarities as well as differences. When aspects do we use to compare them, let us look at the students in the class itself. How do we compare based on the what the friend list, ranking, etc. Okay, so comparison is there. When you compare, then only you will come to know the growth. So comparison makes, okay, comparison will bring some change. Comparison will showcase the growth and development. Comparison is must, because comparison is something which we call it as an relative, which we call as an relative. Okay, so for the relative purpose, we go for the comparison. The next case, usually we take one or more important characteristics of persons and compare them based on these characteristics. Definitely, we take different characteristics. So this is true of development too. For comparing countries, their income is considered. Okay, something we found here. For comparing countries, their income is considered to be one of the most important attributes. And countries with higher income, countries with higher income are more developed than those countries which have a lower income. This is based on the understanding that more income means more of all things that human being need. Whatever people like and should have, they will be able to get things with a greater income. Example, USA, technology is more, availability of goods are high. Availability of goods are very, very high in USA. Now, what is the income of the country? That is like the income of the country is the income of all the residents of the country. Remember, income of the country is nothing but income of all the residents of the country. Income of the country is the income of all the residents of the country. This gives us the total income of the country. Residents means what? What is the meaning of resident? Resident means person who is staying in India, person who is staying out of India. Okay, so all this will be getting contributed to my country. A person is staying in USA, that he is an Indian. Person who exactly staying in India, he is also an Indian. So this both income I'll be considering. This user total income of the country. Talking about total income. However, for comparison between the countries, total income is not such an useful measure. Since countries have different population, comparing total income will not tell us what an average person is likely to earn. Obviously, so overall income you have got, that is the total income, that is the national income of the country. That is the national income of the country, and the national income of the country, and I'll check the population. I will divide. I will get the per capita income. Per capita income means what? Per capita income of per person, one person. So by overall the national income, I can compare two countries, US, Europe. I'll compare. So national income is very high. If I take per capita income, I'll come to know the reality per capita income of US is very high when compared to Europe. That means what? It doesn't mean that although you have both have developed in terms of your ranking, in terms of your national income, but what you should remember always is the per capita income of what you people have calculated is showing the real differences. Comparison between country total income is not such an useful measure since countries have different population. True. Comparing total income will not tell us what an average person is likely to earn. Okay, are people in one country better off than the others in a different country? Hence, we compare the average income. When you compare the average income, you'll get some idea that how much is this country is producing, and it is based on the population. See, population of Europe is high, population of US is less. So when you take this basic things, of population of US is high, population of European few of the countries is less. If I take this overall, then it is different. So what I have to consider here, and we have to take the average income, which means what? Which is the total income of the country divided by the total population, which is called as per capita income. We cannot judge the overall income of the country. Now, few people like Tata, Birla, Adani groups, these are very, very rich, due to which the per capita income of the poor people is also increasing. But in reality, doesn't mean that poor people are earning more. So per capita income will only give what is that per income level it is increasing. And how should you increase per capita income? You should increase the total income. Total income of all, divide them into groups, rich, middle class, and the poor, and make sure that how much poor are earning. Then you can easily understand that by increasing the income levels of the poor, the per capita income will increase. Okay, and also the national income will also increase. In the World Development Reports brought out by the World Bank, this criteria is used in classification of countries. Countries with a per capita income of 49,300 per annum and above in 2019 are called as high income or rich countries, and those with per capita income of US $2,500 or less are called as low income countries. So by heart this, what is the per capita income of the countries who are earning less and more? India comes in the category of low middle income countries because its per capita income 2019 was just US dollar 6,700 per annum. The rich countries, excluding countries of Middle East and certain other small countries, are generally called as developed countries. Okay, that means what? The rich countries, excluding the countries of the Middle East and certain other countries, generally called as the developed countries, where the income is also high, returns is also high. Okay, while averages are useful for comparison, they also hide disparities. That's what I told you. Like you cannot judge based taking just a comparison. You have to consider the per capita income of the countries. Okay, and in this per capita income, if you take the per capita income is very high, it doesn't mean all groups like rich, medium, and poor, all are them happy. So only these people are contributing high, then per capita income will also be high. So what I should know, I should target these people whose income has to be high. When this income is high, per capita income will become more high. When per capita income is very high, obviously national income will also be high. Okay, this is how is this table about. So please go through that table. Country with rich and no poor, we made these chairs and we used them. Countries with no rich and no poor, countries with rich and poor, countries with rich and poor means what? There is huge resources available. We made these chairs and he took them. So that means what? country with rich and poor. Rich and poor means what? Rich and poor means there is some differences. So there's this very good presentation which has been given here. What the meaning of this? Like, we made here and we are paid poor. That means what? USA, Africa. USA visits Africa, okay, make products from Africa, take back to USA. The benefits, giving least benefits to Africa. So giving least benefits to Africa, even African is having some sort of creating employment there. Africa is giving benefits there, but still maximum benefits are taken away by USA. That means what? USA brought a lot of projects, and that thought that Africa will be developed only, but light percentage will be in Africa, maximum will be taken away by this person. So that's the reason why he is sitting so luxury. Means you are taking away more goods with you, you are taking away more profits with you, rather giving less profits and benefits to the people of the poor countries. That is the meaning of that. We made these chairs and he took them. That means what? We what all the goods you made, this guy took away, and it is being sold there, and population is quite less, and availability supply of goods are quite more, alternate options are very very high. Okay, that means he's actually taking the benefits. That is indirect meaning. Country with no rich and no poor. No rich and no poor means this is like bindas. Like there is all economic activities happening. We share economic activity. If people come and invest, okay, fine. If people don't invest, okay, fine. We are having that money. So you basically see now in the in your common other criteria. Let's go to the next topic. When we look at individual aspirations and goals, we found that people not only think of the better income, but also of the goals such as security, respect for others, equal treatment, freedom, etc. in mind. Similarly, when we think of a nation or a region, we may besides average income, think of other equally important attributes. So look at the per capita income as per 2018-19 of the states like Haryana is very, very higher because income is higher, population is quite less when compared. So obviously per capita income will be very high. And Kerala and Bihar. Bihar population is very high. Population is very high in Bihar. So what will happen? Even you are earning income very equal to Haryana, but due to high population, the per capita income will be very, very less. And next important, this is not needed. Okay, per capita income, roughly we can take it to per capita income of the state. Here that the three Haryanas has the per capita income of Bihar, that is true. This is odd because of the population. Okay, same thing, what I have told you. Some comparative data on Haryana, Kerala and Bihar. Net attendance ratio, literacy. This is not needed. This is for the school students. What you have to take away from here is this part. What is IMR? Okay, what is literacy rate and what is net attendance ratio? Okay, so remember what is IMR? It indicates the number of children that die before the age of 1 year as a proportion of 1,000 live children. Okay, so before the age of 1 year, okay, before the age of 1 year, if they die, and out of the proportion of 1,000 live children, when we take the ratio in a particular year. Next, literacy rate measures the proportion of illiterate population in 7 and above years. This you know very basic. Net attendance ratio. This is a new term which you have to remember. Is the total number of children of age group of 14 and 15 years attending like 14. I mean like age group 14 and 15 years attending school as a percentage of total number of children in the same age group. Which means what? Net Net attendance ratio is the total number of children of age group 14 and 15 years attending school as a percentage of total number of children in the same age group. That means what? Number of the number of group which has been present. Okay, number of group which has been present. Out of number of group, the people who actually participates in the competition, people who actually takes an active role in the classes is called a net attendance ratio. Okay, total number of children of the age group, he's talking about total number. Okay, total number of children of the age group attending school as a percentage of total number of children. Okay, total number of children in the same age group. That means what? It is similar like what I have told you. Here also you can check. like literacy rate, what is been expected is 82%. That means 61% are enrolled. It doesn't mean that all are getting qualified, all are getting 100%. That means you take an average ratio. Overall, the marks you'll check. Oh, out of overall the marks, all students would have written exams, but active students are very, very less. So the literacy ratio depend on what? Literacy ratio depend on the number of success of the people and also the number of participants in the classroom. Next case, if you look at what does this table show? The first column on the table shows that in Kerala, out of 1,000 children born, 7 died before completing 1 year of age. But in Haryana, the proportion of children dying within 1 year was 30. So, which is highest? In Haryana, it is highest when compared to Kerala, which is nearly 3 times that of the Kerala. So, per capita income of Haryana is high, but when you take the education levels, when you take the IMR of this of Kerala is very high than other important aspects of Haryana. That means what? Kerala is very high into human values, very high into human values in terms of social sectors, in terms of education, in terms of services, etc. It's not about only income. Development is development is not only income. Development is something more than income, which is nearly 3 times more than that of Kerala. On the other hand, the per capita income of Haryana is more. Just think of how dear you are to the parents. Here is like so happy. Now try to think of the parents who, okay, this is, we don't want to get into all this. It is 2018, so we are talking about the old times. It is 70 years of independence when our metro cities are full of high rise of buildings and shopping malls. The problem does not end with IMR. The last column of the table that the children age group 14 to 15 in Bihar not attending the school beyond. I have told you this total number of people who actually participate in the survey or in the classrooms. Public facilities, how it is that the average person in the Haryana has more income than the average person in Kerala, but lags behind in the crucial areas. Now this is important, let us study. The reason is money in your pocket cannot buy all goods. Perfect. Money in your pocket cannot buy all the goods and services that you need to live well. So, income by itself is not a completely adequate indicator of material goods and services that citizens are able to use. For example, normally your money cannot buy you a pollution-free environment. Environmental benefits you can't give it. You cannot give a values how to treat to your girl child, how to treat to women. What you get it in equality in Kerala in northeast states, you don't get it in other states. Equality, education, social indicators, okay, social evils are very quite less in Kerala. I'm not saying it is zero, it is quite less in Kerala when compared to others, because human values are those things which cannot be bought with money. Okay, unless you can afford to shift to community that already has all these things. Money may also not be able to protect you from the diseases, definitely, unless the whole of your community takes preventive steps. Means active participation is very much needed, and with a special focus on the human values. Actually, for many of the important things in life, the best way, also the cheapest way, is to provide these goods and services collectively. Okay, this is not about much important, but this was like you can use it in your essays, theories, etc. Fine. So in case anything it goes blurred or the net gets interrupted, so just let me know as immediately so that we can set up some alternative. Kerala has a low infant mortality rate because it has adequate provisions of the basic health and education facilities. I have told you this. Similarly, in the states, like public distribution system also works well. Health and nutrition status is also very high. So what we can say that in Kerala, I told you one point about Kerala, that human values in Kerala is very, very high when compared to others. Okay, education achievements of Andhra Pradesh, this is male female ratio that you don't need. Let us see this body mass index. See, one way to find out if we are properly nourished is to calculate what nutrition scientists call as body mass index. Body mass index. So this is easy to calculate. Let each student in the class find out his or her weight and height. Take the weight of each student in kilograms, then take the height by drawing up a scale on the wall and measuring accurately with the head straight. Convert the height recorded in centimeters into meters. Divide the weight, okay, by the square of the height. Divide that weight in kg by the square of the height. The number you get is called as biomass index or body mass index. Look at the BMI for the age tables. See, definitely this will definitely change. You all know how to calculate the body mass index. You draw with the scale, check up your height, check up your weight. So divide that, how you're dividing the population, that is like the actual income by population. Same way, like you'll divide with your height the entire body weight. So body mass index, that means what, per this centimeters of height, what is the body mass index you hold, so how much it has to be in the range. Next, human development report. Once it is realized that even though the level of income is important, yet it is an indicating measure of the level of development, we begin to think of other criterion. There could be a long of such criteria, but then it would be not be useful. Now, from here, health and education indicators such as one we used in the comparison of Kerala and Haryana are among them. Over the past decade or so, health and education indicators have come to the widely used only with the income as a measure of development. That means Human Development Index, which is given by United Nations Development Program UNDP, talks about something more than income, something higher than income, something more than income it talks about. That means what? Here the income levels are high. Here the income levels are high, which means what? It is not only about the income levels, it is about the education levels. Education levels are high. Okay, not only education levels, social sector programs are high. Okay, health sector is contributing high, then we call it as an human development index, okay, given by the United Nations Development Program. So now let us take a case of the human development in few of the countries. In comparison, we can take gross national income, GNI, per capita for the overall. I mean, like, I'm not removing depreciation and all. Gross national income, if I consider for few of the countries, that is for Sri Lanka, it could be very high, because population of Sri Lanka when compared to India is, India is definitely less. So definitely your gross national income will be high. Myanmar, Pakistan, Nepal, population is less, but their income is also less. No, so that's the reason it is in the next positions. Life expectancy in Sri Lanka, life expectancy is 77, and India it is 69.7. This is a new data. This is a new data. So you have to remember life expectancy is 69.7. This you have to remember, 69 years, 7 months. Many years of schooling, 6.5 average. And HDA rank, it is 130. This will change. Earlier it was 121. It has come down. Now look at the HDA rank of Sri Lanka. Social values, social indexes are very high. HDA stands for Human Development Index. Life expectancy at birth denotes that, as the name suggests, average expected length of life of a person at the time of the birth. Per capita income is calculated in dollars for all countries so that it can be compared. It is also done in the way so that every dollar would buy some amount of good and services in any country. That means what? How will you basically measure? Per capita income is calculated in dollars for all the countries so that it can be compared. Why we are taking the dollar only? It is very stable, comparable, easy to calculate. It number we know it. How much conversions are there we know it. So we use majorly the dollar. It is also done in a way so that every dollar would buy same amount of goods and services in any of the country. Now he's talking about why Sri Lanka has achieved over because of the less population. And 2019, before COVID, Sri Lanka also used to substantially earn good sufficient number in its GDP. Sustainability of development. Suppose for the present that a particular country is quite developed, we would certainly like the level of development to go up further or at least be maintained for the future generations. So sustainability means what? Sustainability means any project you develop, okay, that project needs to be sustainable and viable. Sustainable and viable, which means that you're thinking about the present and also you are thinking about the future generation. That means present also you are thinking, future also you are thinking. That means what we need both the cases, present and future. So that's the reason in this case we need that whatever development you are bringing in case of the present, it should not impact your future people. For example, in 18th century, in 19th century, US has gone for industrial revolution, French revolution, okay, Russian revolution, etc. They made wide changes in Europe, US, Russia. Because of that, there were a lot of emissions, and that emissions are actually impacting now to the people who are in the 21st okay century, and people who come from the 22nd century, even they will be highly impacted. Okay, next, groundwater in India. What is this groundwater in India? We'll read now. Recent evidence suggests that the groundwater is under stress. Threats of overuse in many parts of the country. About 300 districts have reported a national level decline of water 4 meters during the past 20 years. Nearly one third of the country is overusing the groundwater resources. In another 25 years, 60% of the country would be doing to the same. Okay, because why groundwater overuse is particularly found in agriculture prosperous regions of Punjab. More utilization of e- groundwater because of for what purpose? Because of for drinking purpose, irrigational purpose, and micro and agricultural activity used more. Okay, groundwater is an example of renewable sources. True, these resources are replenished by nature, as in the case of the crops and plants. However, even these resources may be overused. For example, in the case of groundwater, if you use more what is being replenished by rain, then we would be overusing these resources. What is this is called as overshoot. This is, remember this term. This is called as overshoot, which is called as earth overshoot. Earth overshoot means what? See, today you utilized okay 1 liter of water, okay, by digging you utilize 1 liter of water. So what will happen means when you have utilized the 1 liter of water, which easily means that you are the people who have utilized for your own purpose, irrigation purpose, drinking purpose, etc. But this utilization of water which is for 1 liter has to be replenished, means what? It has to come back, it has to make a comeback by the nature. It has to come back by the nature, which means what? The water level has to come back to the normal phase, 1 liter. So how much time it will take? It will take 6 months, it will take 12 months, etc. So this is what, for example, in the case of groundwater, if you use more than what is big, that means you use it 1 liter, 1 liter will be back in 6 months. If you lose 2 liters, 2 liters will be back in 12 months. But time it is taking, that 1 liter is taking instead of 6 months, it is taking 12 months. That means what? You're overusing the water and you're not allowing the earth to come back to the normal pace. What is being replenished by rain, then it would be overusing their resources. Non-renewable resources means what? Which cannot be replenished, will get exhausted. Okay, we have a fixed stock on earth which cannot be replenished. Means what? We have to now, I mean, like anything additional things. I mean, like, see, you should give some time to the earth, you should give some time to the resources so that they will come back to the normal phase. If you're not allowing that, then this is getting overshooting of the earth. Remember this term, this such kind of terms will be asked in your prelims. Now, what is this crude oil and all? See, crude oil and all I'll teach you in the next class, NCRTs. Now, consequences of environmental degradation do not respect national or state boundaries. This issue is no longer region or national specific. Our future is linked together. And sustainability of development is comparatively a new area of knowledge in which scientists, economists, philosophers, and other social scientists are working together. And in general, the question of development of progress is perennial. At all times, as a member of society and as individuals, we need to ask where we want to go, what we have to do, our goals, development activities. But what you have to remember out of this entire slide is about natural resources, earth overshoot, overutilization of the groundwater, what is sustainability, okay, what is body mass index, HDI, and how do you calculate per capita, okay, and here few areas of what is your expenditures, IMR, comparisons of IMR, net attendance ratio, okay, and average income comparison with respect to the average income. All right, so this is your chapter number 1. Just give me a minute, I will connect you to the chapter number 2. So this chapter is about the sectors of Indian economy. Here this is a very important chapter because this will give you basic understanding about what all the goods, services, okay, which is contributing to the flow of GDP, etc., will be related here. Primary, there are three sectors basically. The many activities that are undertaken by directly using natural resources. Take, for example, the cultivation of cotton. It takes place within a crop season. For the growth of the cotton plant, we depend mainly but not entirely on the natural factors like rainfall, sunshine, and climate. The product of this activity, cotton. See, you need to read what is first primary sector. Primary sector is the one which are directly related to the natural resources. Something comes out of natural resources is called as a primary sector, and something which is directly related to environment is called as a primary sector. So when you take primary sector, remember what we produce a good by exploiting the natural resources. It is an activity of the primary sector. What comes from the natural resources is a primary sector. What is related to the environment is a primary sector. Why primary? This is because it forms the base. That means what? It is an initial stage. For example, you take dairy, agriculture, fishing, forestry. So all these are called agriculture and related sector. That means what? Agriculture and these are allied activities. Allied means which are directly linked to one particular sector. Next, secondary sector covers activities in which natural products are changed into other forms through ways of manufacturing that we associate with industrial activity. That means from one sector, we are processing and sending it to secondary sector so that in the secondary things can make process, can perform things, etc. And this could be a factory, for example, a workshop in the home where this cotton which you have got it from the primary, this needs to be now processed and it has to be used in the market. So sugarcane as a raw material we'll get from primary, and gur and the direct sugar or ethanol is being produced, and that is comes out from the industrial sector. Now what is called the tertiary? Tertiary means what? Tertiary means an activity where it is basically an service based, where services are given, services are sold, services are taken, transport, okay, or railway services, banking services, all this comes under the service sector. Service sector also includes some essential services that may not directly help in the production of goods. For example, we require teachers, doctors, this all institutions, online services, what you're taking, ATM, internet cafe, software companies, call centers, all this will be part of the service sectors. Now, examples, you check this example, cultivation and all. This is quite simple. You can easily answer those questions. Which are the following are primary? Basket weaver, okay, flower cultivator, milk vendor, fisherman, okay. So in which sector? Astronauts, call centers, service sectors, such kind of things you can easily answer. Next, how do we count the various goods and services and know the total production in the each sector? It's not at all about the counting. We don't count, we just make the value. So what we care is the value. It's not like the size of the good. The size of the good is small, size of the good is big. This could be cheaper and this could be very costlier. So it is about the value which creates in the market. It's not about the size or how much you have produced in the market. Remember, there is one precaution one has to take. Not every good that is produced and sold needs to be counted. It makes sense only to include the final goods and services. Final goods and services, what basically things you get in the market is what matters. We don't consider the intermediary goods. That means values are very different. For example, you take a mobile phone, you take a mobile phone. Final value of the mobile phone is 20,000. But intermediary values, that is the iron we use, the steel we use, the silicon chips we use, the motherboard which is made, okay, there is some fiber which is being utilized here, okay, copper is being used. So this all has some intermediary values. This is sent, this all comes from the primary, that is the mining, then we'll send to the manufacturing. From here, it is sent to the services. There you'll put 20,000. Here it will be 10,000. Here it will be 15,000 and here it is the 20,000. So what you take is 20,000 is then final value. Will not take 10,000 or 15 which are intermediary values. So remember there is one precaution one has to take. Not every code that is produced and sold needs to be counted. It makes sense only to include the final goods and values. Okay. He has given an example of wheat and biscuits, etc. You can go through them. Why are only final goods are being counted in contrast to the final goods? Goods such as a wheat and the wheat flour is example of an intermediary. That means here I have taken the silicon, which is making a silicon chip. Silicon chips is the final good. Silicon, which is used in the manufacturing of the silicon chips, is an intermediate good. Okay, wheat can be made as a flour, can be used for the chapati. Wheat can be made as a flour, can be made as in biscuits. So what are the final goods? Flour is not the final good. Flour is an intermediate good. Flour, sugar is an intermediate. What are final? Chapatis, biscuits, bread. These are the final goods. These values we have to check, not these values. Now, the value of the final goods already include the value of all the intermediate goods. Obviously, silicon chips, this is around 500. So silicon is 300. So 300 is already included in 500. So we don't take again 300 as separately, we don't show. So it becomes 800. So that's wrong. That is what he's saying. The value which is already included, we are not going to show them in the calculations. And next, then as a floor and finally as the biscuits. Okay. The value of final goods and services produced in each sector during a particular year provide the total production of all the sectors for that year. Okay. That means what? GDP. What is GDP? GDP, the total final value of all goods and services produced within a country. Within a country, the value of final goods and services. So GDP, what you are getting in a country in terms of goods, in terms of services, the value of final goods and services produced in each sector during a particular year, say one financial year. Okay, and the sum of production in three sectors gives what is called the GDP of a country. It is the value of all final goods and services produced within a country. So there's a boundary limit, territorial limit we call this as. We call this as an territorial limit during the particular year. And GDP shows what is the rank of the country, how much you are producing in the country. Okay, what are the sources you have in the country, etc. In India, the mammoth task of measuring GDP is undertaken by a central government ministry. Okay, definitely it is calculated by Central Statistical Office under the Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation. This ministry will help of various government departments of all the Indian states and union territories collects information relating to the total volume of goods and services and their prices and their estimates the GDP. That means what? We have a department which is called a CSO in general, which is responsible for making the calculations of GDP. So what are the historical changes? Historical changes, you don't have to read all this historical changes. Over a long time, more than 100 years, and especially because new methods of manufacturing were introduced, factories came up and started expanding. Those people who had earlier worked on farms, now, so this is actually not needed. How much people have shifted, why they shift? Because of requirements earlier were very high in the agriculture. requirements now in the factories or industries manufacturing. Now requirements is completely taken in the service based. That means what population is shifting. The more employment are there in service sector. This is what he is trying to convey. Let's work this or what is the history of developed, so not needed. Okay, primary, secondary, and what is the meaning of tertiary here? Shows that the production of goods and services in the three sector. This is for the 2 years, this and this. We have to use the data for these 2 years because the data are comparably and authentic. Okay, that means what? Primary, how much is produced, secondary, how much is produced, tertiary, how much is contributed. Earlier case 1973-74, this is the value. Out of this value, the primary used to contribute maximum. The primary used to be high. See, if you take the data from 1950, the primary contribution was higher. If you take the data of 2020, secondary, primary has gone down, services has gone very, very high. That means here 51% we used to get from primary. Here 51% is being given, more than 51% is given by the services. You can look at this. Services are contributing highest, manufacturing is the second highest, third highest is primary. That's just a shift, which all is giving us more importance. We started shifting to that area. Now, rising importance of tertiary sector in the production. Over the 40 years between this and this, while production in all three sectors have increased, it has increased the most in the tertiary sector. As a result, in the year 2013-14, the tertiary sector has emerged as the largest producing sector in India, replacing the primary. Why it has moved? Because technology overruled. In agriculture, to bring the technology, it will take a lot of time. Implement technology to take a lot of time because we don't have large scale farming. We have subsistence agriculture. And finally, in this case, we also have those kind of activities which are being majorly used for technology or service sector. Okay, so technically driven technology is mostly used in service than in agriculture. So pace of development is very high in service. First, in any country, several services such as hospital, education institutions, police station, courts, banks, etc. These will all form. These are considered as basic services. In developing countries, the government has to take responsibility for the provision of these services. So definitely, services role is very high. Development of agriculture industries lead to development of the services such as transport, trade, storage, and the like we have already seen. Greater the development of the primary, secondary, more would be the demand for such services. Means what? One is linked to other. Primary is linked to services, services is linked to tertiary. From one to here, from here to here. That means it is cascading. As the income levels rise, certain sections of the people start demanding many more services like eating out, tourism, shopping, private hospitals. So these are again services. Services actually rule. Fourth, over the past decades or so, certain new services such as those based on information and communication technology have become important. So, however, you must remember that not all of the service sector is growing equally. That is very true. This is very important point. Not all the service sectors are growing equally. Few areas like where you have IT, where you have software, where you have consultancy, where you have medical services, where you have pharma services, these are growing. Other things like institutions, cinema halls, restaurants, they cannot be like in the major pace like what other are contributing, because we don't prefer to go always to restaurants. Only few of the time we go and prefer. We don't prefer to go to institutions always. Only few of the times we need. Transportation is also similar. Transportation will be in the peaks while during festivals, and it will be the normal phase during the normal seasons. And in the summer, again in the summer holidays, transportation sector will go very, very high. So what are this? That means software contribution is very high. Banking contribution is very high. Okay, that means what? These are the institutions without which it's very difficult to run. But when it comes to the other institutions, the institutions contribution is very, very high. Okay. Now, where are the most of the people employed? Generally, these people are employed maximum in the service sector only. Okay, because service sector gives you large scale employment when compared to other sectors. A remarkable fact that India is that while there has been a change in the share of three sectors GDP, a similar shift has not taken place, okay, in employment. And where are the maximum employment generated or employed in agriculture? Maximum employment is in agriculture. Maximum employment in agriculture contributing least to GDP. Least employment in the services sector contributing maximum to GDP. Vice versa. Why? Major reason is technology. Instead of 10 members, 2 members are working here making use of technology contributing maximum to GDP. 10 members without technology contributing least to GDP. So what is the difference? Technological changes. Technology is making a very big difference between these two. Why didn't similar shift out of primary sector happen in the case of employment? It is because not enough jobs were created in the secondary and tertiary. Even though industrial output or the production of the goods went up by more than 9 times during the period, employment in the industry went up almost 3 times. The same applies to the tertiary sector as well. While production in the service sector rose by 14 times, employment in the service sector rose by 5 times. This is general terms which I've already explained you, which is the meaning that agriculture employment, manufacturing employment scope is very, very high. But how best you will use the technology is always a question mark. Any contribution to service means it is a singly played. Any contribution to agriculture and industries means it is double played. Means what? It will definitely go to the service sector. As a result, more than half of the workers in the country are working in the primary, mainly in agriculture, producing only about 1/6 of the GDP. I have told you maximum people are employed, but contribution is very, very less. Less people are employed, but contribution is very, very high. And what is what it means is that there are more people in agriculture than it is necessary. Okay, there are more people in agriculture than is necessary. This is called as disguised disguised unemployment. So even if you have a few people out, production will not be affected definitely. In other words, workers in agriculture sector are underemployed. Workers in the agriculture sector are underemployed. Underemployed means what? You have certain education, you don't have any other option, you're doing agriculture activity. Okay, such kind of people also are found in the agriculture sector. Now, what do you mean by labor effort? For instance, take the case of small farmer Lakshmi owning about 2 hectares of unirrigated land, depending only on rain and growing crops like jowar and arhar. All 5 members of her family work in the plot throughout the year. Why? They have nowhere else to go for work. You will see that everyone is working, none remains idle. But in actual fact, their labor effort gets divided. Okay, so what is the meaning of labor effort getting divided? Which clearly means that we are into a form of disguise unemployment. That's what I have told you. More people are employed than actually needed is called as disguise unemployment. Next, what people have to do, Manrega government has to bring, that is all not needed. They may spend the whole day but earn very little. Okay, that's it. Now, how to create more employment? What are the things we have to look into creation of more employment? More employment means definitely more creation of the job, more necessities. Okay, and in agriculture, how can you create more employment? Only because of few measures taken by the government. If you bring technology, employment will not increase, employment will fall. If you don't bring technology, employment will increase, but contribution will fall. How do you do this? How do you work? Means what? Bring more projects into agriculture, like allied activities, dairy farming, food processing industries. Okay, so aquaculture, also with the floriculture, such kind of thing, various aspects. If you bring, then it could be helpful for us to create employment in the market. Irrigate many such farms. This is not needed. Now, suppose Lakshmi and other farmers produce more than before. They would also need to sell some to this. For that, they require to transport their products. Okay, many trucks. transportation charges, etc. Okay, fine. Lakshmi need is not confined to water alone. To cultivate the land, she also needs seeds, fertilizers. Being a poor farmer, she cannot afford, so she will be borrowing money from the money lenders and have a pay high rate of interest, because money lenders generally don't take collaterals deliberately, keeping in mind that I'll charge you more interest rates. Okay, so what has been a measure here? If the local banks at the village level give her a credit at a reasonable rate of interest, she will be able to buy all this in time and cultivate her land. This means that along with the water, we also need to provide a cheap agriculture credit to the farmers for farming to improve. We will look at some of this in the chapter number 3 when we discuss. Means we'll be talking about the cooperatives mainly, which will be very much helpful in delivering of the loans in the rural areas. Another way by which we can tackle the problem is to identify, promote, and locate industries and services in semi-rural areas where a large number of people may be employed. For instance, suppose many farmers decide to grow arhar and chickpea, that is pulse crops. So, setting up a dal mill to procure and process these and sell in the cities is one such example. And what you should also provide is make sure that you provide with the cold storages, open storages, or very basic infrastructure facility where the farmers, okay, can save their production, okay, and whenever the market is in need of this, they can sell it and they can get little bit benefits and profits out of their production. Okay. Do you know that in India, about 60% of the population belongs into the age group of uh, one second. Okay. Do you know that in India, about 60% of the population belongs to the age group of 5 to 29 years? Out of this, only 51 percentage are attending educational institutions. The rest, in the particular, those age less than 18 years, may be at home, or many of them may be working as a child laborers. So, in this, let me take you a study conducted by the erstwhile Planning Commission, now Niti Aayog, estimate that nearly 20 lakh jobs can be created in the education sector alone. Similarly, if we have to improve the health, we need more doctors, etc. This is not at all needed. Every state or region has potential for increasing the income and employed for people in that area. It could be tourism or regional craft industry or new services like IT. This is also not needed. Tourism, how many people? No exam will ask you this numbers. Now, what is right to work? Recognizing this, what is that? I will tell you. The central government in India made a law implementing right to work in about 625 districts in India. It is called as Manrega, which was issued based on the Manrega Act 2005. Under this act, all those who are able to and in need of work in the rural areas are guaranteed 100 days of employment in a year by the government. So this is basically 100 that has gone now to 250 nearly, depending on the number of the number of days and availability of work, poverty levels, etc. The type of work that would be in the future help to increase the production. What kind of work is related to? Wage laborers. These are related to the wage laborers. Division of sectors as organized and unorganized. See, what is the meaning? Let me tell you. What is the meaning of organized and what is the meaning of unorganized? Organized means what? Everything is calculated by CSO. You're not coming under the calculations of CSO. Okay, you pay taxes here. You do not come into CSO means you do not pay any taxes here. Your employees are countable here. You do not know how many employees are associated here. So hence I'm calling you as an unorganized. But in India, unorganized are more than 60%. In India, unorganized are more than 60%. So maximum employment are associated in unorganized only. So let me take leave it this part. Kamal Kanta was going out. Kanta works in an organized sector. Organized sector covers those enterprises or places of work, yeah, where the terms of employment are regular and therefore people have assured work. Okay, they're not like I mean, like they're working into some agencies. No, they're working in the reputed agencies like government, okay, the private sector, etc. In various laws. Okay, and they are registered by the government and have to follow some rules will be there, regulations will be there, protection to the security, women will be there, salaries will be given, provident funds will be given, okay, some incentives will be given, profits will be shared. Here there is no compulsion. Okay, Factories Act will be there, minimum age act will be there. See, for example, there's some laws will protect you like a Factories Act, minimum wages act will be there, payment of gratuity, okay, that minimum profits has to be given. Shops and Establishment Act, it is called as organized because it has some formal processes. All these are into formal, these are into informal. Okay, but workers in the organized sector enjoy security will be there. They're expected to work only a fixed number of hours, whereas workers who belong to unorganized, the responsibilities are very high, risk is very high, and they are mostly unorganized, and there is no security for them. They get paid leaves. Who get paid leaves? The people who get this medical benefits, travel allowances, all they are organized because they are part of this working group of organized and under the comes under the policies, security programs of the government and the private. Kamal works in an unorganized. The unorganized sector is characterized by the small, unscattered units, which are largely outside the control of the government, which means what they do not come under the calculations of Central Statistical Department (CSO). These are rules and regulations, but these are not followed. Okay, there will be some rules they are not following. Jobs here are lowly paid. There is no equal wages will be given, no security, and there's no something called a contract. There is no bond. If you're okay here, it's working based only on the trust. Yes, you are trustworthy. You want to work here, please work. Else you can leave. There is no provision for the overtime paid leaves. Employment is not at all secure. People can ask for a leave without any reasons, and people can also go without any reason. In the government means government will question you where you have gone. In the private, private will question you where you have gone. This are non-organized where if you are going, that means what? It doesn't mean that you will come back. You may or you may not come back, but there is no social security. We always talk from the workers' point of view. From the institution point of view also, institution also will not be giving you any sort of security. How to protect workers in unorganized sector? It is very difficult to protect in the unorganized. The organized sector offers jobs, but or offers the jobs that are the most sought after, but the employment opportunities in the organized sector have been expanding very slowly. It is also common to find many organized sector enterprises in the unorganized sector. Okay, but they adopt such strategies to evade the taxes. Means what? They don't pay the taxes. They refuse to follow some rules, regulations. They employ kids. A few of the people are exploited for the work or extra work. They are not paid. Okay, equal wages will not be there, even though low salaries have been given, and they are not secured and they are not getting any benefit. In 1990, it is also common to see large number of workers losing their jobs in the organized sector. These workers are forced to take up jobs in the unorganized sector, which are very, very low earnings. Because organized is not performing, then what responsibility I have? I have to get into unorganized. Now, who are vulnerable people who need protection in the rural area? The unorganized sector mostly comprises of landless agricultural laborers, small and marginal farmers, sharecroppers, and artisans. That are weavers, blacksmith. Okay, people who do carpentry work, people do some artist performance, etc. So nearly 80% of the rural household in India are in small and marginal farmer category only. When agriculture is not supporting, what they will do? They will definitely get into unorganized activity. They start working in factories, industries, etc. In urban areas also, we have lot of unorganized sectors. Urban, we have lot of unorganized sectors. So which could be micro, which could be macro, which could be etc. But here wages are quite better. when compared to the wages which you get it in the rural areas. Rural areas wages are very less when compared to the urban areas. And why are we calling this unorganized? Because you don't come under the taxes collections. You don't know from where you are buying the raw materials, okay, from where you are sending to process it, from where you are getting to sell in the market. Nothing has been calculated. So where you are buying, where you are selling, nothing has been taken into calculations of the GDP. So we also find that majority of the workers from the scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, backward communities, women basically find themselves in the unorganized sector. Okay. Besides getting the irregular and low paid job, these workers also face social discrimination. This is the most challenging thing where the government has to work. Getting a job is different. Discriminating is thing which you definitely have to take a control of it. Okay, this is not needed. Okay. Another way of classifying economic activities in the sector could be on the basis of who owns assets and is responsible for delivery of assets. Now, two classifications. Assets are owned by the public, assets are owned by the private. Assets are owned by the public, private, both. For example, if you take railways, railways is maximum public. Okay. And here, railways or post office is an example of the public sector, whereas companies like Tata, Reliance is an example of the private. Activities on the private sector are guided by the motive to earn profits. To get such services, we have to pay money to these individuals and companies. Okay, and this is not needed. There are several things needed by the society as a whole, but which the private sector will not be provided in a reasonable cost, because private mostly works for the profits. So they'll try to increase their profits out of it. But what is happening? It is unaffordable for the BPL and the poor. Then the government has to intervene. So also collecting money from the thousands of people who use these facilities is not easy. Even they do provide these things, they would charge a high rate for their use. Examples are construction of the road, bridges, railways, harbors, okay, generating electricity. These are mostly government based. Government will give you people at the free of cost. These are some activities which the government has to support. That's what I told you. Like most private run under the government license only, because the government will not give an authority for the private to run their institutions on their own, that they will be under the supervision of the government. Because even if it is private, electricity charges, roads, buildings, cleanliness, Swachh Bharat, water supply, everything will be in the hands of the government. So government definitely will take care of those responsibilities. So government in India buys wheat and rice from the farmers at a fair price. This is called as minimum support price, which we have discussed in the ninth class NCRT. This is stores in the godowns and sells at a lower price to the consumers. So there is something called as issue price, which I have already told you in the last class. This is for basically released from the PDS to the BPL families. Okay, and to sum up, this is a store in the godowns and sells at a lower price to the consumers through the ration shops, which we are going to provide them at a subsidized prices. Government has to bear some of the costs. In this way, the government supports both the farmers and the consumers, especially what type of consumers? BPL consumers. There are large number of activities which are the primary responsibility of the government. What are those? Spend on health, education, etc. And running proper schools and providing quality education is also the responsibility of the government. We are giving license to the private is also responsibility of the government. Similarly, we know nearly half of India's children are malnourished and quarter of them are critically ill. So we have to know that infant mortality rate, which was high in Assam, Madhya Pradesh, Odisha, okay, where poorest region, where slums we have, where there is no drinking water facility, there is no proper okay sanitation, okay, there is no proper schools. So in that case, government responsibility is to check, because private will not take all those kind of activities. Okay, so this is about your second chapter. All right. All right. So we'll be stopping here, and we will continue in our next class about the money and credit, globalization and consumer rights.